A legit feast or famine moment coming up, right? Like either the Bengals with one of the all-time great comebacks to sneak into the playoffs, or it's one of the most disappointing seasons in the history of this franchise. And it hangs in the balance of guys you would have never expected, right? Like Snoop Huntley, Tyler Huntley, who played for the Ravens in a wild card game in Cincinnati a couple years ago. He is going to play a big role. Carson Wentz, you forgot he existed. Suddenly, not only do you have to root for him, you have to root for the Kansas City Chiefs in January. Aaron Rodgers is involved somehow. He's like kind of forgotten as far as great players. Can he be great for one more game? That's what we're going to find out. This is either a monumental moment for this Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow era, or it's the last meaningful game until September. One of the two things will happen. We're going to try to figure it all out as we go here. You are in the jungle. I'm Matt Edwards. I'm fired up. If I look a little different today, if you're watching on YouTube, I am standing up. It feels more comfortable. It's what I did as a sports anchor back in the day. And just one day, this morning, taking my daughter to daycare, I thought, why am I sitting down? I'm never comfortable sitting down, so here I am. You didn't come here to hear about that. What I want to talk about to start the show, and we're going to get into quite a few things. We'll go over the scenarios, of course. We got Bengals Pro Bowlers to talk about, and I've got a message for Mike Tomlin that I posted on my YouTube Shorts that I'm going to get into as well. We'll talk about that, but first things first, how did the Bengals beat the Steelers? They only lost to them by 6 on December 1st. What was that, week 13, I want to say? So they can do it. The Bengals are surging. The Steelers are doing the opposite. They're headed in the downward direction. They've lost 3 in a row. So I'm talking to my dad on Tuesday morning. I watched the Niners and the Lions on Monday Night Football. And if you watch, there was a 3rd and long in the second quarter where the Lions, who were playing for nothing, by the way. This week they have a huge game. Last week it didn't matter if they won or lost. They're either going to be the number 1 seed or the number 5 seed based solely on this weekend's outcome. But I'm watching the game, 3rd and long, nothing on the line for Detroit in this game except maybe some confidence. They run a crazy hook and ladder to Jamison Williams. It goes 46 yards to the house for a touchdown. It seems like Detroit's doing something like that every single week. And when you're playing close games every single week, as the Cincinnati Bengals are, doesn't it make some sense to throw some things in like that? Because the Bengals have the talent to do it, right? Why are we not seeing more creative plays? And look. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to complain about the Bengals offense. They've been outstanding. Joe Burrow is a legit MVP candidate. They've been awesome. However, perhaps the downfall of this team this year is they're always a play too short. This weekend in Pittsburgh, throw something out there, right? Run out of gas in this one. Find something like that because you got to think this defense, and I know they've been playing better, and it's easy to play better when you're playing DTR and Will Levis. And a rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, is awesome, but he's still a rookie. Holding them to 24 points is great. If the Bengals hold opponents to 24 points, the rest of the way out, they'll win the Super Bowl. However, why not when you know that based on what we've seen, we've got a big enough sample size, we've got 16 games now. We know that this Bengals defense is going to give up a couple cheap plays. There's going to be a missed tackle. I mean, we saw it the Browns game, first play of the game, down to the 1. Fortunately, the Browns are so bad, they failed to do anything with that. We saw it early in the Titans game. We see it week after week where even against the bad teams, the Bengals defense is prone to give up a freebie. Why don't the Bengals try to counter that on offense by getting one of these sneaky plays? Get creative. I've kind of been saying this all year, but I'd never thought about it this way up until this point, right? There's so many opportunities. They've got enough talent on offense to do things like that. They've got guys you can trust on that side of the ball to do some zany stuff. Get weird with it. They can do it. They've got better receivers than the Lions. Other than offensive line, they might be offensive line and running back, they're probably better everywhere. Why can they not do it on offense? I mean, why can they not? Why can the other Jungle Cats, the ones a state below, why can they not throw something out there like this? In a must-win game, give me a play or two like this where you take a shot, where you throw a hook to Jamar, get him in the open field. I'm just saying, you got to get creative this week because on all these big games, and I know the Bengals have won 4 straight and it feels great, but they haven't played anyone as good as the Steelers since they lost to the Steelers, a month ago. Figure something out. Get creative on both sides of the ball. That's what I want to see. I want to see Zach Taylor empty the clip in this game. Come out and say, this is what we got to do. We got to leave no question about it. I don't want another overtime game. I want to see this where there's 3 minutes and 12 seconds on the clock, and they're saying, well, the Bengals need 2 games to go their way tomorrow, and they can sneak into the playoffs. And Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are smiling, and Aikman saying, by God, Joe, I tell you, Joe Burrow should be in the MVP conversation. A run like this, wouldn't that be something? Leave no doubt. And a way to leave no doubt is to counter those freebies you're probably going to give up on the other side of the ball. I hope they don't, obviously, but counter those freebies with a few of your own. You know you're going to have some busted plays on defense. Counter that with your all-world offense. Best quarterback, best receiver in the game, and another top 10 receiver when he's playing at this level in T. Higgins. Figure it out. That's my one thing that really comes to mind where I think you can throw Pittsburgh off a little. We'll get more into that. The other thing I wrote down is just come out hot. Look at the Steelers right now, man. They've lost 3 in a row. They're kind of becoming the team we thought they would be. And they've not lost 3 in a row, close ones. They've gotten beaten up the last few weeks. They beat the Bengals. We just talked about that. They beat the Browns. Since then, at Philly, lost by 14. At Baltimore, lost by 17. At home on Christmas Day against the Chiefs, they lose by 19. Their confidence floundering right now. Come out hot. Do one of these trick plays early. Get something going. Steelers, by the way, have allowed more than 30 points just 3 times this season. Twice this season. 34 at Baltimore and 38 to the Bengals. Bengals have scored the most against them of any team all year in a 44-38 loss. Russell Wilson, of course, had the game of his life in Cincinnati. So the 3 highest point totals Pittsburgh has allowed all season came in the month of December. Cincinnati scored 38. Baltimore scored 34. Kansas City scored 29. So Pittsburgh, I know they're playing good teams, but the slide is real right now, okay? Like, you get on them early, you get out to a 14-0 lead, even a 14-3 lead, even a 7-0 lead, whatever, Bengals will take it. You get them believing, maybe we are this team. Maybe we're not the team that was in contention for that 1 seed in November. Maybe we're this version that's on the brink of losing 4 in a row if you get down a couple of scores early. You got to come out hot, because I got to think that kind of they're starting maybe to believe that way a little bit, and I'll talk about more of that when it comes to Russell Wilson in a second. Well, let's get right into that, because Pittsburgh, I wrote it down right here, they've got 3 touchdowns in their last 3 games. That doesn't win you many football games, right? 3 touchdowns in their last 3 games, and you're talking about extending Russell Wilson. I know you're playing some top-tier talent, but that's kind of my third thing I wrote down here. So I wrote down the trickery stuff. I told you I saw Detroit do it. I was talking to my dad, why don't the Bengals do this stuff? Come out hot, make them believe they are this team that's lost 3 in a row. And then the other thing, find a way to beat up Russell Wilson. Listen to this. He's 36 years old. That's old. I know. I'll be 36 this year. I get it. That you feel it a little more. I ran a half marathon on New Year's Eve. I still hurt today. I guess it's only 2 days later, but I'm sore in places I've never been sore, and I ran at a very slow pace. I got to get my little brag in there that I burnt some calories before drinking all those beers. Russell Wilson, 36 years old. He's thrown an interception in 2 straight games. He has fumbled the football in 3 straight games. Make him believe he is the player he's been these last couple weeks. Make Pittsburgh believe they are the team they've been these last 3 weeks. Let Trey Hendrickson, last week we saw Myles Murphy, Cedric Johnson, Joseph Ossai playing at a decent clip. Let those guys get in there. We know what B.J. Hill's going to do. Free up like Trey Hendrickson as much as you can. Swat that ball away. Again, my high school coach used to say big plays win big games. Same in the NFL. You get a few swing plays. The Bengals know that better than anyone this year. How often have we felt like this team outplayed the other team, but just a few broken tackles here of whatever it is, here or there, that is the difference in the game. That can be the case this week. Flip the script. That's what the Bengals have got to do. They've been right there every game. It's time for them, as we saw against Denver, to get the tide to turn their way a little bit. Now, real man makes his own luck, right? Real team makes their own luck. Come out there. Go at Russell Wilson. I'll tell you what. before I started writing this podcast, kind of my thought was, we're all talking about the Chiefs beating Denver. We're all talking about Miami losing in New York. We got to still have a Bengals team be able to beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's playing for something. We'll get to that later, but it's not like they're locked in to any seed. I like the Bengals. I really do. If you look at where both teams are headed, and really I feel that way more about the Steelers than I do the Bengals. As far as they're headed more down, I feel like, than the Bengals are headed up. So I like the Bengals. I'm going to take them to win 27-26. I've got 4 touchdowns for the Bengals this weekend with a missed PAT from Cade York, who it looks like will be the kicker again. And I've got Chris Boswell with 4 field goals on the other side. So the kickers are unfortunately going to make an impact this weekend. Give me the Bengals 27-26. Give me some trick plays. Give me that tight end falls down play. Who did that? Was that Arizona State yesterday? I want to see Mike Gesicki trip in the backfield, make it look like an accident, and then he's free over the middle for a nice little 38-yard clip to get up the field. Give me, you got Jamar Chase, figure something out. Do a fake fumble over Joe's head, direct snap to whoever's in there at running back. Give me some weird stuff. If you got to sign Mohamed Sanu off the street to throw a touchdown, do it. I want to see some wrinkles, beyond wrinkles. I want to see the shirt balled up and looking unacceptable to wear into public. I want to see this team do some things that completely catches Pittsburgh off guard. I think that's a way you steal a few plays. The Bengals have been a play or 2 or 3 away in every single game except the Eagles this year, and you could make an argument even in that one. In all 8 losses, they've been right there. Flip the script. This time, you be the team that makes that extra play. You find a way to get Trey Hendrickson one-on-one several times throughout the game. You find a way to get the ball in Jamar's hands in space. Let him do the work. Coaches, you got too much talent. You probably have the best quarterback, wide receiver, and pass rusher in franchise history right now. You got too much talent to not find a way to give this team a winning record and give them a chance on Sunday as we hit the 4 o'clock window. I think the Bengals can beat the Steelers. I really think they will beat the Steelers. I genuinely do. Here's what the Steelers are playing for. So, Baltimore and Cleveland is the game before Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. If Baltimore wins that game, which they will, they're the AFC North champions. So what would Pittsburgh then have to play for after Baltimore beats Cleveland? They're playing for either the 5 or the 6 seed. Kind of a big deal, because if you're the 5 seed, you go to Houston. If you're the 6 seed, you go to Baltimore. However, I'm going to talk more about this later in the show, but does Pittsburgh really care where they go? I'll get to that in a little bit, but that's what's at stake. So Pittsburgh, once Baltimore wins, maybe in their minds, I guess Cleveland did beat Baltimore the first time they played, but they caught them off guard, right? So Baltimore going to win. Then Pittsburgh, you decide, do you care about the 5 or 6 seed? Do you care about Houston or Baltimore? We'll find out. So let's talk about the scenarios. The Cincinnati Bengals need 3 things to happen in order to make the postseason. You probably know what they are by now, but if you don't, we'll go over them and jump in depth a little bit on each one. Let's see here. So, the Bengals need to win. They need to win their 5th consecutive game. This time they'll do it in Pittsburgh. We all know that. And then at 4:25 on Sunday, you've got 2 games we'll be paying attention to. You need the Broncos to lose. That's Bo Nix, the rookie, who's really good. Patrick Mahomes and all the great Chiefs are sitting. So it's going to be Carson Wentz starting at quarterback for the Chiefs. A lot of people just seem to think this is going to be a walk in the park for Denver, right? Like, I think Kansas City has a real shot here. There's a few reasons. Like, one, you got no pressure on you. All the pressure is on this rookie quarterback and a young team. And they can say whatever they want. When they look across the field and see those hideous red and yellow Ronald McDonald-looking uniforms that Kansas City wears, they're going to see a team they've lost 17 of 18 to. That's right. The Chiefs have beat Denver 17 of the last 18 times the 2 teams have played. So Denver can say what they want, but there's guys on that roster who maybe it's a little bit like we see here in Columbus when the 2 teams have met the last 4 years in the Big Ten. Maybe it's a lot like we saw with Steelers-Bengals in the Marvin era. There's a mental thing there that can get into guys' heads when they see another team that they just haven't been able to figure out. It gets to them. You get out there early. I mean, look, Kansas City, yeah, these are backup players. But this is a guy, Carson Wentz, a former first-round pick who's played some really good football and, oh, by the way, has been coached this season by the best offensive coach, arguably of all time, in Andy Reid. You think he's not going to be ready to go? You think they don't want to go out there and put some pressure on him in case they do need him in the playoffs? These are backups, yeah, but they're backups on a dynasty. They're not backups for the Las Vegas Raiders. They're not backups for the New York Giants. They're not backups for the Jaguars. These are guys who are backups to the best team assembled, arguably this century. Certainly one of the top three. These are guys who are all fresh. They've been waiting for months to prove a point. We see this in the NFL all the time, right? Like bad teams beat good teams on a regular basis. Every weekend, there's a big upset. Now, a lot of times those upsets become, or they happen because the team gets caught off guard. That will not be the case here. Denver knows what's at stake. But I'm telling you, look, Vegas doesn't agree with me. Kansas City is a 10.5-point underdog. I'm going to bet that one. But man, I think Kansas City legit has a shot here. You think Andy Reid's not going to want to be the first coach to win 16 games in a 17-game season? You think they don't want to keep the momentum rolling? You think they don't want guys to prove, hey, if something goes wrong in the postseason and you're chasing the three-peat, which no one has ever done, we want to make sure we have the guys in place who can step up. This is a big game for a lot of these guys on Kansas City. Maybe it's not for the fan base, maybe it's not for the rest of the NFL, but for the guys in Kansas City who have been backups, who are going to go out there and try to put tape together where they can come out and say, hey, look at me, team that needs a free agent, trade for me, give me a big deal. I'm great. I just couldn't play ahead of this team or the guys on this team in this dynasty. I think Kansas City has a real shot here. Maybe I got too much black and orange on the brain, but do I need to take the striped glasses off? I don't know, but I really think Kansas City has a shot here. We'll figure it out. The other game we need to go the Bengals' way would be Miami losing in New York. The weather's fluctuating there. There's all those fun stats about how bad the Dolphins are in cold weather. I saw Jay Morrison, who I quote just about every episode. He had a stat that the Dolphins have lost 9 of 10 in freezing temperatures. So I don't know. The forecast change. We'll see what it's like. However, what we do know is that Mike McDaniel said yesterday it's probably going to be Snoop Huntley playing for the Dolphins. He played against the Bengals in a wild card game a few years ago. He was fine. He was also on the Browns practice squad earlier this year. So that's a guy who the Dolphins now need to help them get into the playoffs. It's weird he was on the practice squad because we all know he's a very capable backup in the NFL. And then the quarterback on the other side of the field is Aaron Rodgers. You might have heard of him. He's won 2 of the last 4 MVPs and has suddenly fallen off a cliff as far as NFL players go. And look, maybe this is his last game. Maybe he says, I want to go out a winner. He knows he's been bad this year, right? He might say some dumb things, but he's not stupid. He might really want to make sure he goes out with a win. Maybe he doesn't. He certainly has some other interests. Maybe he's done with football. Maybe his love for the game is faded, but you got to think he's going to want to go out there and win. And look, they got embarrassed last week. They were down 40-0. We see teams often forget the quarterback. Let's look at the whole team. We'll find out real quick, I think, if the Jets are interested in ending the season with an exclamation point and bouncing a division foe from the playoffs, or if they've already got their trips Monday morning planned out to go out to some sunnier destinations. Miami is a 1-point favorite, so Vegas does agree with me here. Just a 1-point favorite in New York. So that's what we need to happen. We need a Bengals win, a Broncos loss, a Dolphins loss. All things considered, where we were at just a few weeks ago with this team, it's not the worst position to be in. So we'll figure out what happens as long as we're talking spreads. The Bengals are a 2-point favorite in Pittsburgh, and the Ravens, an 18-point favorite against the Browns. And if the Ravens can win that game by however much they want, like, Browns are disgusting. It's a legit chance. I truly believe that, and we'll find out just how legit it is on Sunday. I think they'll all be close. I really do. I think all those games will be close games. And I think I'll lose a year off my life during that 24-hour stretch. So that's where we're at, man. It's a fun, again, There's people, and if you want to be this way, you can sit around, complain, talk about all the things that went wrong. Right now, focus on the future. Focus on this weekend, the fact that the Bengals in Week 18 have a shot. We got all off season to bitch and moan about the things that could have been different, and trust me, we will. I will certainly be one of them. But right now, the Bengals, for a second consecutive week, are playing in a playoff game. It's not an official playoff game, but you know what I mean. You felt the vibes on Saturday against Denver. You know what that feels like. It's fun, is it not? So we'll see what they can do on Saturday night, 8 o'clock in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ugly, ugly city if you've ever seen it, but kind of fun if you know the right people. Some quick hits. The Pro Bowlers were announced today. The Bengals had 3. You can guess who they are. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson. An interesting stat. By the way, Jamar Chase now 4 for 4. 4 years in the league, 4 Pro Bowls. And I think Trey Hendrickson now has made the Pro Bowl in every year he's been in Cincinnati. So again, we knock the front office from time to time. Grand slam with Trey Hendrickson. He's probably the best pass rusher in franchise history at this point. I put this number together. I looked at the 39 Pro Bowl selections in the AFC. There's 39 of them. 18 of them are from the AFC North. That's 46%. That's nearly half. It's just one of those things where if you're a Bengals fan, and especially if you're a Browns fan, I don't know why you're listening to this, but thank you. But if you're a Bengals fan, it's always the way it's going to be, man. As good as the Bengals are right now, and I just mentioned at 3 very important positions, they've got 3 Pro Bowlers who might be the best 3 in franchise history at their positions. But you are always going to have Pittsburgh and Baltimore, 2 of the best 5-ran franchises in the NFL, right there with you. It's always going to be an uphill climb in the AFC North, and I think that's why when the Bengals got into the playoffs the last 2 times, they've been able to hang with anyone. They're battle tested throughout the year. We'll get that again on Saturday night. The Ravens had 9 total Pro Bowlers. Your AFC quarterback Pro Bowlers, by the way, Josh Allen, the starter, and then the other 2 were Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. So interesting that Mahomes, who's clinched the 1 seed, is going for the 3-peat, but didn't get the Pro Bowl vote this year. And he shouldn't have. I mean, no, look, he's great. He's a Hall of Famer. But those 3 guys have been doing all the work. And I think maybe part of that should go to the fact that the Chiefs have built such an excellent team. Like the Bills and Bengals and the Ravens, to an extent, have to rely on those guys every week to be superhuman. If you're watching on YouTube, or even if you're not, you can go to youtube.com/InTheJunglePod. I've uploaded 2 shorts this week. Those are 60-second videos. I'm going to upload another one here in just a little bit. But one of the points that I made on there was that if you're Mike Tomlin and you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you truly believe, as they say, that it's every team every year is looking to win the Super Bowl. Super Bowl or bust. We hear Mike Tomlin say the standard is the standard. You got 6 Lombardi trophies over there. That's what you expect. If that's true, you're already in the playoffs. You're either going to be a 5 or a 6 seed. You've got 2 first-round Hall of Famers in Cam Hayward and first-round Hall of Famers. First ballot Hall of Famers in Cam Hayward and TJ Watt. TJ Watt gets nicked up from time to time. Cam Hayward's getting pretty old. I went to college with him. Do you maybe rest those guys this week? Do you maybe say, what would we rather have? 2 Hall of Famers who are still incredible game wreckers on a week's rest? Or would you rather play Houston and know that in the second round, you're probably going to go to either Buffalo or Kansas City? What is the standard in Pittsburgh? If it's to win a ring and anything else falls short of expectations, I think you set some guys this week. I really do. That assumes Baltimore beats Cleveland, of course. But I really think, and this was my point on the short that I told you about, if you're the Steelers and the standard is truly the standard to win a Super Bowl, then you got to go through the great teams. So who cares if you play Houston first or if you play Baltimore first? Rest TJ Watt, rest Cam Hayward. If you want, you got guys all over the place who are really solid. I don't know what your injury report looks like. I know George Pickens has been beat up. Russell Wilson, I mentioned, is older than dirt. Rest some of these guys. If you're truly serious, give these guys a bye week to be fresh for the playoffs. Go into Baltimore, beat them up, because that's what would happen if the Steelers lose. They would end up the 6th seed going to Baltimore, and Chargers would jump them because they play the Vegas Raiders, who stink. I just think that's a legit discussion that needs to be had. And look, I know you're looking at me with this hat on and you're saying, well, yeah, of course you want the Steelers. And hell yeah, I do. But at the same time, it makes sense, does it not? If you're a Steelers fan, aren't you thinking like, yeah, if they want to win a Super Bowl, are you happy with getting bounced in the divisional round because you beat Houston? Is that a successful season? I don't think so. Not from the Steelers fans I know and love, of which there are many. A lot of good people, not smart, but friendly. And then just an injury report on the Bengals side. Cade York, probably going to be the kicker again this week. He's just been, he hits the 59-yarder, which is a franchise record, and then he misses a 33-yarder against Denver. He missed an extra point against Tennessee. He's not good, but he's what the Bengals have right now. So Cade York's going to be the kicker again. Awful season for kickers. Again, the tide's been turning. Maybe it turns that way as well, because even with our guy Evan McPherson in there, it was not his best season. And then Chase Brown, kind of similar situation. It doesn't look like he's going to go. He was not at the walkthrough yesterday. So just trying to, I'm going to look through here. Yeah, we don't have any updates on him since yesterday. He was not at the walkthrough. So that's where we're at with that. And the Bengals, yeah, you're without Evan McPherson. You're without Chase Brown. Chase Brown, by the way, a third Pro Bowl alternate. So an excellent day 3 pick by the Bengals with Chase Brown. He's been awesome this year. Joe Mixon made the Pro Bowl as well. Good for him. It's a win-win, right? I'll take Chase Brown over Mixon. Like, the running back production is replaceable. And the Bengals proved that this year. So, again, good move by the front office there. And they've got a much cheaper running back, a much younger running back, and, maybe a guy who is not going to cause as much as an uproar as occasionally Joe Mixon did. He was an excellent Bengal. But at some point, you got to move on. And not everyone is happy about it. But it's going to be fine. It's whatever. So, all right, Bengals at Steelers Saturday night, 8 o'clock at whatever their stupid stadium's called. Acrisure, is that it? It's like an insurance company. Let's look that up. Acrisure. What is Acrisure? Insurance and Business Solutions. They're a financial technology and insurance company. Sounds like a bunch of crooks. How disgusting is it that an alleged blue-collar city of steelworkers like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, their beloved Steelers, their stadium, once known as Heinz Field with a big ketchup bottle, once known as Three Rivers back in the day, they're now sponsored by a financial technology and insurance company that offers a variety of products and services. How dorky. That's why you're on a downslide. You lost who you are. That's gross. Should be sponsored by, I don't know, a hot dog company or something. All right, that's it. Bengals will play there on Saturday night. That'll be fun, I hope, and then we'll see what happens. I'll have another podcast out, I don't know, Saturday night, Sunday morning at some point. Meanwhile, if you want to hear some 60-second clips from me, go to youtube.com/InTheJunglePod, hit the subscribe button, and then, or don't, you can just go check them out when you want. I don't really care. And then if you want some shorts, I'll have one today, tomorrow, and then Saturday before the game, in addition to this. So, yeah. Eat up all the content you can, guys. It might be the last meaningful game until September. Of course, we hope not. But, it could be. We got to be honest with ourselves. So, podcast is called In the Jungle. If you like it, tell a friend about it. If you don't, that sucks. I'm sorry. And my name is Matt Edwards. We will see you again after Bengals Steelers on Saturday.